what's up you guys, this is Rob from The Gay Guy Plays, and today on Dress to Kill / Snapshot, it's like a weird hybrid of the two. As you guys know, Baro Couture's special relay is coming for all of the digital pass holders, and he's gonna have all the bits and bobs available. Now, I actually went through and kind of took a list of all of his cosmetics, and it went on and on and on, and I realized that there was no way I was gonna be able to fit it all in one video. So I thought that I would go ahead and do this as a breakdown with all of the Warframe specific stuff in this episode. So we're going to be taking a look at all of the armor sets he has available, the SANDRs, the Warframe skins, as well as like the sigils and the things that go specifically on your Warframe, okay? That's as good as we're going to get with this intro. Alrighty, so for those of you who aren't quite aware, I wanted to go ahead and reiterate this real quick. There is going to be a special TennoCon 2017 relay, which Baro Couture is bringing along with him for anyone who has a digital pass. Now, he's going to be bringing his entire stock, so there's going to be a ton of things for you guys to sort through, to pick up. So start farming your Ducats and your credits now, because just looking at the accessories list, I'm a little bit like overwhelmed. So I already did a video on all of the weapons that you might want to take a look at picking up. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at all of the cosmetics, specifically for your Warframe, that are going to be available. Alright, so before we jump into the big stuff, I figured that I would go ahead and give you a little bit of an overview of the smaller things that you're probably going to be seeing littered throughout this review, because they just happen to go with a lot of the Baro Couture stuff, and they are included in his stock. So as you can see right here, we are rocking the Couture Sekhara, which are these little diamond bits that are actually, I forget what these are called, like emblems? Sigil? I think they're emblems, because that's a sigil, so I'm gonna assume that that's an emblem. But yeah, it gives this kind of cool void effect, and it has the kind of signature Baro Couture diamond that's in there, and I think it looks really, really cool on some frames. Sometimes it's a little bit too much, and it's actually something that I didn't use on my Titania, because I was like, there's a lot of things that are going on over here. So sometimes on frames kind of like Wukong, that's a little bit simpler, they can pull it off a little bit better than other people. However, I am a big fan of it, and it is available for 400 Ducats, a little bit pricey, and 200,000 credits. Now, the next thing that you are going to see is the Prisma Sigil, and as you guys know, I talked about this in a previous, I guess, customizations video before, I don't really know, but I'm a big fan of the Prisma Sigil, mainly because of the fact that it gradiates. So the cool thing about it is you can actually control the gradation that comes from it. So as you can see, these ends are like a dark brown, but because of the fact that the frame itself is kind of like this dark green, I can actually go in and kind of like turn it into that dark green, so it almost looks like it blends in with the structure of the frame itself, which I think is really cool. And that one is available for 50 Ducats and 50,000 credits. So not as big as an investment as the Sekhara, which is kind of nice, but I think that it actually does add a good chunk to the frame. Now, the next thing that you're looking at right here is the Couture palette. This one is available for 150 Ducats and 300,000 credits. Now, get this. I'm in love with this. I can't really break it down to like, there's a review that I did of the overall palette, but as you can see, it has some really, really cool teals. This green is not something that you're gonna find in too many palettes, or at least the amount of choices that you have in there, like that dusty green, and it has a dusty teal that's really, really pretty too. If you're looking for like more pops of color, like you definitely have something bright like that, and it's absolutely fantastic. And this kind of like chocolate milk Dookie Brown isn't like the thing that I love and clamor for, but used as an energy color, it's actually really surprising, because as you can see right here, that is that energy color. This whole look, in fact, of the Wukong is actually done with the Couture palette. So if you like that, you can definitely pick that up. Again, that is 150 Ducats and 300,000 credits. Okay, so let's jump straight into armor sets, because collectively they are the most expensive of the bunch, and I personally feel like they're a great addition to your roster of like cosmetics. They can really, really change the way that a frame looks, and there are some nice key ones here, and I'm gonna put this out into the universe. I have kind of arranged everything in accordance to my favorites, to my like least favorites. Now, my least favorites don't necessarily mean they're bad, they just mean that I don't like them as much. So we're gonna start in with my favorite of the grouping, which is the Couture armor set. Now, this one is available for 800 Ducats and 510,000 credits. That's what I have written down, or at least my scribbles are. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys the breakdown in the description box below of how much each of these items costs individually, so that way you're just aware if maybe you're missing one or two pieces, whether you want to fill out that collection. Now, as you can see, I have tossed it here. It's kind of like a staple of my Titania, and I absolutely love it on her, mainly because of the fact that she is a very metallic frame. She has lots of metallic bits on her, so it pulls in from all of the Couture stuff. Plus, she's a little bit busy, and the Couture stuff kind of adds into that busyness and almost kind of like accentuates the busyness of it. I'm a big fan, especially after they separated the Donna from the actual shoulder pieces, so now you can kind of customize all of the armor bits separate from the Donna, which was a big help to a lot of the armor pieces that you see. But as you can tell, it's integrating in that soft gold. It's very, very, very pretty, and like I said, works well on a lot of frames that have metallics. The only thing that I would caution you against is there are a lot of prime frames out there that have like either more, that usually have a little bit more of a circular or ovular, is that a word? No, I think that's ovulation, I don't know, but you know, it's more oval or more like circular or more rounded. I feel like this kind of doesn't look as good on them, mainly because of the fact that it kind of betrays the shape with the sharp lines and sharp edges. However, as you can see here on my Volt Prime, I do have the Volt like Prime bits turned on. He's wearing the capacitor skin, and I think this is like a perfect accompaniment with it. If you look at it right now, because of the fact that the capacitor has these kind of panels of almost like faceted metallics, I think it looks amazing with all of these pieces kind of integrated in. It kind of carries over that diamond theme that looks really, really awesome. I've also tossed on the Sekharas on there so he could kind of keep up this gemtone theme, which I'm a very big fan of. So always just be mindful of the fact that kind of the shape might betray some of the other primes, but on certain ones it definitely is amazing on. So play around with it, definitely try it out. It's a bit expensive, however I'm definitely gonna recommend this as one of my favorite bits of Couture stock. Alright, so I definitely have some bias on this one. As you can tell, this is the Prisma Edo armor set. I've loved the Edo armor set since it first came out, so when they came out with the Prisma version, I was like, oh, it is amazing. Now initially I was not as big a fan of it because of the fact that, you know, armor pieces were attached to Donna customization. However, now it absolutely looks fantastic because of the fact that you can separate the two, and that's the big part here. And you'll notice a little bit of a theme when I talk about the Prisma series, because as we know, Baro brings us the Prisma series for a lot of customizations. The Prisma series does not look good just pulling the colors straight off of the frame. As you can tell, this is definitely something that I had to tweak a little bit in order to get the energy effects, but I love the smoky energy effects. I love the gradation of the metallic. So as you can see here, the outer metallic isn't just like metallic all the way through. It actually gradiates down the sides, which I think are a fantastic detail, and you're not going to be able to see it now, but I do believe that the chest piece has a little bit of a projection when you're actually in game, so you'll see that flicker on and off, which I think is absolutely amazing. It almost looks kind of regal with these things, like, you know, the things at the top of the knees. I think it's just such a really cool, how do I put this, like a classic look that can be incorporated into frames. It's not like something too weird or too outlandish. It just sits right. It's very samurai. I'm a big fan of that. I don't know, there is just something very regal and kind of very classic about it, and almost kind of like warrior feeling. That's why I like it on like Excalibur and Saren, because they definitely have this kind of like, I'm on the battlefield, samurai front kind of thing. Pair this up with the Nikana Prime, and I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. It is a bit pricey at 625 ducats and 470,000 credits, but this one, I think you guys will get a lot of mileage out of it, even maybe more mileage than you would out of the Couture set, because of the fact that it's a little bit more flexible. So if the Couture set was a little bit over the top for you, I think that you are going to find that this one is going to be perfect. Alright, moving our way a little bit lower down on the list is the Prisma Datalist set, and this one is available for 410 ducats and 400,000 credits. Now, if the Couture was just a little bit too over the top for you, and the Edo was a little bit too back in the days for you, here is your futuristic set. Legitimately, the Daedalus it's not my favorite, but the shape is really, really cool, and it sits well on a good amount of frames. I actually really like that chest piece, and sometimes I'm tempted to just use it on its own because the shape of that chest piece is absolutely fantastic. I think I had tossed it on like a Zephyr before. It's almost kind of like giving her the wings that you know she didn't have. But I love the prismatic effect on it because it's very, very soft and it's really, really smoky, and these metallic panels that the Daedalus had initially are just the perfect accent for it. It's got a lot of metallics to it, so you're really definitely going to want to balance out how, like, where you put the shininess, because sometimes if you just copy it straight over from the frame itself, it can look a little bit wonky. But with a little bit of tweaking, you can come out with something really, really cool. I'm a big fan of its, and that's the big thing that you need to keep in mind with this armor set, is that the shoulder placement and the leg placement can be a little bit off with certain frames. However, when you find a really, really good match, like I love the way the Daedalus sits on top of the Inaro shoulder pieces. I was just like, oh, it looks so good. Not such a big fan of how it sits on the legs, so if it was just me, I probably would not be using it on his actually feetsies. I would probably just use the chest piece and the shoulder pieces, but it's really, really cool. And okay, a little tip. For all of you guys who like fiery frames or want your frames to have like a fiery effect, this can kind of continue that theme over if you use the right energy color. So you're looking for a little bit more futuristic, look at the Daedalus. Now, rounding out the bottom of my list is the EOS Prime armor set. This one is available for 355 Ducats and 325,000 credits. Now, as you can see here, at least in my own opinion, this is not Prime. This is like Prisma. This was the first armor set. I believe this is the first armor set that they released, and they just called it Prime, and they realized maybe we shouldn't call the rest of these primed because they don't really look primed. So instead, they kind of like turned it into this like weird thing, and it should probably be called the EOS Prisma armor set, right? I feel like Prisma EOS, EOS Prisma, something along those lines. Now, the one thing that I want to point out with this is the whole thing is actually metallic. It's all breakdowns in metallic, so if the energy color is a little too much for you, which for some people it's gonna be, but I personally actually paired it up with Trinity because I like to see that movement on her helmet and that kind of movement on the shoulders. I think that it pairs well together. But for those of you who are a little bit like, that's too much going on, what you can actually do is you can change the main color. I'm just gonna like fiddle around with it. Change the main color to you know, whatever metallic color that you want to be, then change the overlay to the metallic color that you currently have. So it almost kind of like it stays kind of like continued with all of the colors that you have on your Warframe, so it's not as big of an eyesore, but it has this almost kind of golden glimmer to it, which is pretty cool and definitely something that you should keep in mind. However, not everybody is looking for subtlety. As you can tell here, I've paired it with the Ember Majesty skin and it looks absolutely fantastic. Sometimes you have to embrace the over the top, and I think that this is going to be really, really good for those people who love that really molten textured energy effect. It just is like moving, and I think it pairs so well with certain frames like this. Maybe even you could have it on a tranquil frame and like color the energy as like soft rippling water. It's all up to you and how you want a fashion frame. Personally, this is not something that I pull out on an everyday basis, but sometimes if you gotta go big, you gotta go hard. You like them big and hard, and that is exactly what the EOS Prime armor set delivers. Alright, now we are done with the armor sets. We're gonna go ahead and move on into the Donnas. Now, I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a heads up. I have done my best to make some of these Donnas look good, so they might look better than they do on screen than they actually do once you're playing around with them. So I'm gonna give you my honest opinion, but I also want to kind of like show you how it looks if you know, put in the time and effort to really tweak the colors. Now, this is my favorite of the bunch, and I don't know why, because I really think it's weird, but I kind of love it at the same time. It's like one of those like guilty pleasure ones, and this one is the Prisma Hecate? I really don't know how to say it, but this one is available for 250 Ducats and 300,000 credits. Now, as you know, I like armor pieces that kind of stay close to the back, or Donnas that kind of click close to the back, and this is one of my favorites of the bunch for that, I really love with the Prisma Armor series, and this, you know, kind of states for the SANDRs as well, all of the gradients that are within the Prisma set. So it's not just like, oh, we're gonna toss metal on here, but it's a metal that gradiates into like some dark parts and that pops back out in the shiny bits. I'm a big fan. Also notes that the accent piece here are these like little white dots. So you can kind of see them there, but if you wanted to use two different metallics, so if you wanted to use a rose gold and like a rose metallic, that would be a really pretty overlay. You can really fiddle around with small details like that, and that's kind of like why I like the Hecate Cyan Donna, and that's my big pick for it. It's really understated. It's not over the top like some of the under Cyan Donnas that you're gonna see. I stumbled over that last word, but we're keeping that take. Alright, now moving along, we have the Prisma Yamako Cyan Donna. This is available for 400 Ducats and 250,000 credits. I'm gonna be honest with you, I really like this one. I don't like it as much as the Hecate because it is still a little bit big and dangly. It's a little bit over the top. However, if you're gonna do over the top, this is definitely one of the best ways to do it. If you don't have the Prime version of the Yamako Cyan Donna, I think that this is a great kind of, I won't say dupe, but stand-in for it until, you know, they manage to unvolt it. But I love all of the metallics and how the metallic almost kind of like gradiates into this white and then becomes a side berry. It almost like, it's like the metallic braids itself into the rest of it, and I absolutely love it. I also love how you can blend two different colors into each other to really make, I think it's this and this actually, these two blend in to kind of create this really pretty gradient. And then you have the Prisma energy effect. One of the things that I want you to note too is, I think it's this one on the side, you can almost kind of add a second energy color to it by fiddling around with that. So, you know, there's a lot of things that you can play around with the Cyan Donna, almost kind of giving it an accent energy, which I absolutely love, and it's definitely something that you should keep in mind when you are taking a look at this one. I think it's very much worth it if you like dangles. Alright, so this is going to be the last of the non-bulky Cyan Donnas, and I bet you guys probably already know which one it is because of the frame that I have it equipped on. Not looking at the name or anything, but we are going to be taking a look at the Raza Cyan Donna, which is available for 350 Ducats and 400,000 credits. And the reason, for those of you who don't know, or have never seen it before, that I have it equipped on Nerja is because it's literally the Prisma version of Nerja. I don't know if you can see the little head buns with the dangly scarf bit and his cute little face here. I'm sure it's unintentional, but legitimately that's what it kind of boils down to. So let's take a look at that, and then let's take a look at that, and then let's go take a look at that. It's basically Nerja in, you know, a Couture Cyan Donna form. So if you've ever wanted to have Nerja's face against your back, that sounds inappropriate. Regardless, I think that a lot of people thought I was gonna like this one. However, you guys know that I'm not a fan of it when there's like a metal piece that looks like it should act like metal, but it kind of behaves more along the lines of fabric. It kind of like weirds me out a little bit. It looks gelatinous, like a big jello jiggler has been attached to his back. But it does have that cool little spinning diamond in there, which is nice. I'm not gonna personally hate on it. I don't hate it. I don't necessarily love it. It's just not necessarily my cup of tea. However, it does pair perfectly with Nerja. Wow. And now we are on to the big Bertha of Cyan Donnas. These are the like Couture cape ones that like make me absolutely crazy. However, we're gonna start off with my favorite of the bunch, which is the Couture Solstice Cyan Donna. This one is available for 425 Ducats and 200,000 credits. This one makes the armor set look good. I mean, not the armor set, but this particular cape set good. A lot of them are reskins. However, this one's got some texture, like some really cool like texturing on the back, which I'm really fond of. it's got a lot of metallics incorporated into it. But with the other Couture Donnas, you will actually find that they don't necessarily have all the metallics coated in, which, as you guys know, untintable portions make me want to like just yell and scream at the top of my lungs. It makes me want to literally have like a content creator fit on the floor and just start kicking my legs up in the air and saying, "No, DE! What have you done, DE? You're ruining the game! Don't you play your own game!" Ah! That's exactly what it makes me like feel like having. However, this, if you're gonna get one of the big Couture Cape Donnas, this is the one to get. Of course, it is pretty goddamn pricey, but I think you will get the most use out of this rather than the other ones. Alright, so the next step down in the Couture big ol' cape towel series is the Daedalus Donna, and this one is available for 325 Ducats and 450,000 credits. This one is a little bit more, how do I put this? It's a little bit more graphic, like a bit more geometric than the other ones that we're gonna see, and I don't hate it, but one of the big pet peeves is none of this up here is very metallic. So as you can almost see by the reflection itself, it's almost kind of like this padded leather look, or almost like this weathered leather look that I don't necessarily like all that much. I do like these metal bits in here. I think that that looks absolutely fantastic. But I almost feel like because of this is the crowning piece, it should have a little bit more pop to it. That's just my own personal feelings. I don't think that this is the worst of the bunch. I've actually tried it on a couple other frames, and you know, it pairs nicely. However, I really still do prefer the Solstice one over this one. But you know, if you don't like swirlies and maybe you prefer something a little bit more geometric, this is going to be the one that you definitely want to go for. And here we are at my least favorite of all of the Donnas, which is the base Couture Donna itself. I already know what to tell you. I tried this on a bunch of different frames, but that metallic kills me. That is an untintable metallic, and it makes me want to just like bash my head on the table. It's so bad. The only reason I was actually able to use it on this gorgeous yokai skin is because of the fact that the arrow tips in there are still like that metallic-y silver thing. So I was like, all right, maybe it can kind of jive, but that's not something that you can touch. The patterning itself is actually not bad. You can actually alter this to make it really, really subtle and almost come off as like this really like sheer, almost like snake skin kind of texture to it, which is the only real saving grace of this Donna. At the end of the day, it really just reminds me of like paper towels, you know, like the paper towels with the patterns printed on it. That's exactly what this is to me. I'm not fond of it. Hey, if you love it, go rock it. But the other two for me definitely win it over this one. This one is available for 500 Ducats. 500 Ducats! And 500,000 credits. It's the most expensive one of the bunch. I'm looking at you. I'm gonna judge you if I see you rocking this over one of the other Donnas after that TennoCon weekend. I'm gonna judge you, okay? No. Dumpster fire, garbage, trash. I don't know how the quote goes. Alright, so now we're moving on to the frame specific skins. There's only 2 of them available, and as you guys know, I am not a big fan of Immortal skins, period. And I'm still not. So this is the Zephyr Immortal skin, which is available for 550 Ducats and 100,000 credits. And the thing about it for the Immortal skins that absolutely kills me is that the texture map remains the same. It's different patterning, it's different, you know, it's got different kind of like effects on it. It's almost kind of got like a slightly like zebra print-esque feel to it. But at the end of the day, the texture mapping is still the exact same as the normal frame. So you have weird things that happen, like this chest stuff. Like, it's got these lines, you know, it's got like colored lines that go over the chest bits, but down deep at its core, it's still got the exact same texture as it did before, so it does not necessarily quite mesh well with the skin. So me, if, you know, unless you're an avid collector and you want to make sure that you have absolutely everything when it comes to customizations, I'm not necessarily going to recommend either one of these skins. But you know, if like I picked it up because I wanted to make sure that I had everything just in case, so I can't really judge you for that, but you know, this is what it is. And of course, Hydra's got his own Immortal skin as well, also available for 550 Ducats and 100,000 credits. I don't hate this as much as I dislike the Zephyr one, but the one thing that I really am not fond of is the fact that it almost feels like the way that the color placement was handled was not good for his helmet, for his base helmet. And a part of me is like, I don't necessarily know how I feel about that. And to be honest with you, some of the colors, if you were to swap around some of the colors, the texture of the frame itself almost acts against it and makes certain colors take differently on the helmet than it does on the skin itself. Again, I am not super fond of this skin, you know, at all. I mean, like, that back part is cool, I guess. I mean, I am going to toss Donna on it, so I'm not going to see that. So, again, I mean, pick them up if you want to collect them. However, I personally am not... This is not something that I would run for if I did not have the extra Ducats. Like, if you have all the extra Ducats in the world and you're, like, rolling around in that shit Scrooge McDuck-wise, go for it. But this one, not my cup of tea. Alright, so that pretty much does it for my overview of all of the frame-specific customizations that Baro has. Now, clearly, of course, Baro has more. There are skins for your Kavats and your Kubros. There are skins for your Sentinels and your Shades. There are weapon skins and all of that kind of stuff. However, I thought that this would be a little bit more of a priority for more players as opposed to, you know, getting the Couture arrow skin for your bows. But, you know, who am I to judge? You know, maybe that's your #1 priority because it does leave little, like, diamonds in the air when you shoot it. Regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope that you guys found it, like, informative to kind of help you with your own, like, buyer's guide for what you want to do with your Ducats when the relays come through. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. But what are your favorites? Do you think that I am in the right for hating the original Couture Donna versus the Solstice Donna? Look at its gorgeousness. Maybe even put out your own list of like what order you would put things out at. Or if you have a differing opinion on certain cosmetics, let me know. You'd be like, oh, it works really, really well in this frame. You guys should definitely try that out instead. Toss that all in the comments. And as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and prep your ass for TennoCon, because that's what I gotta do. I got so much shit I gotta do. I'm like falling behind. Anyway, you guys take care, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.